seeing them with my own eyes since 2012. I
All
first saw Nibiru December 2012.
Okay. And
Okay.
people have taken all kinds of photographs, and, people are fond of saying, like Richard Hoagland, that, that's Venus you're photographing or whatever it is. So they're in denial, either that or they just are lying because they have to cover up because, Hoagland was working very closely with NASA and all that. So
Hoagland was a player. He played all sides of the street. He'd sell you out for a dime.
All right. Well,
okay.
and he's very deep in the whole story as well as the whole Illuminati thing.
You don't know which lane he's in. I'm going to tell you, you don't know which lane he is.
Fair
he
enough.
Came at me. My very first thing that put me on the map. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Was I spotted the actual predicted Nostradamus King of Terror comet. And I'm the guy who's found it. Oh. And that started me in 1999 with 5 million views on the Millennium Group. And he went to attack me and he said, "Oh, you were confused by flash bulbs." Okay. And because I actually spotted 3 objects. Guess what? A French cosmonaut on the Mir station sent me imagery to back up my position and made Hoagland look like an ass.
Okay.
And it shut him up and he never talked about me ever again.
Oh, right.
Yeah. In this topic, we have people that are controlled opposition or they're playing every side of the street. And that's one of the reasons why I just don't get caught up with other researchers.
Okay.
I just don't. I just stay in my lane.
Okay, there is the Carrington information. So Carrington, as I recall, was a scientist, and he actually came out and point blank said that this planet, whatever you want to call it, I forget whether he called it Planet X or what he called it, but he said that this thing was coming around a certain number of years, and he actually went public with it, and then he got really, really attacked by the powers that be, deep state. And I think they basically killed him. But out of his work, that was one of the witnesses who was a scientist and who actually went public with this idea.
Right.
Okay. And that was also backing up Barbados statements and so back in the day. Fast forward to now. I don't know if you've been hearing my statements or my, actually, I just did an interview with a partner of Richard Alan Miller. You know, the physicist, Richard Alan Miller?
The name is a little familiar, yeah.
Well, I've interviewed him dozens of times. I've been to his house. We've met in person. I've filmed him on all kinds of settings. He is what you call a black project scientist. Okay?
Right.
And for most of his whole life, really. Right. He still works for Navy intelligence. He'll even tell you that to your face. So he's controlled to a degree, but he has now come out and said he did mathematics to prove that there is actually this so-called event that could be what you're talking about. So that's why I'm trying to bring these two things together. He came, about 9 months ago, he came on my show. My entire site was, after the show, taken down for 6 days. They went to ICANN, the highest level you can go, to actually affect our, and I'm not a techie, but basically even GoDaddy couldn't do it. I had to bring in a very secret security specialist to tell us what the hell happened, why we were off the internet, and so on. And he figured it all out, and then we got it fixed. So then we were back. Then fast forward to like 2 weeks ago, and Richard Alan Miller calls me again, and he says he was right, and that this is what he told me. Okay, now he's not going to lie to me. He'll tell me what is real. So whether you agree with it or you don't like it or whatever, you can tell me that too. But he said he got a call from the government. Now, the government means the Biden show, probably. I call it the Biden show. Right. I don't think it would be the Trump group. I think it would be the Biden show, who called him and said that this is crazy, but the Corps has stopped. What do they do? And the reason they're calling him is because, again, his mathematics have figured out that in March, late March, early April of 2024, we are going to have a Carrington-like event, is how he described it. It's not going to be extinction level, but it is going to involve earthquakes and land changes and things of that nature. So the first time he told me about it 9 months ago, when we got thrown off the internet, all that, you can go listen to these interviews and see what you think. But he basically said, this is my mathematics. I am 99.999% sure that I'm correct. And this man is brilliant. He's brilliant.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so at that time, we were just stating it to the public. We're just bringing it forward as his theory. 2 weeks ago, when he called me, he said, not only has the government just called me, but the Corps has stopped and they want to know what to do. And they've recruited me to do certain thus and so's about whatever job they want to recruit him for. Right.
Right.
So, and then he was saying, and I'm now positive that I'm right. So he didn't say that 9 months ago. Suddenly he's saying that now. So his mother was a famous psychic back in the day. He has some psychic ability, and I think he's relying now on some of that. Whether he's right or he's wrong, he's, again, targeting this time space, which is different than yours. So, but I wanted to throw that out just in case, because he never mentioned, Planet X, Nibiru, or any of this stuff, right? Or Nemesis. And so I just wondered how that sort of sits with you.
Well, we are, right now with earthquake activity. First off, for about a period of about 18 months, it was capped. The USGS was artificially capping no more than 10,000 events per month. True. We were reporting that, and I was reporting that month after month after month after month, and I was complaining and complaining and complaining, and that was ignored. And then I finally did one change, and all of a sudden I got attention, and I said, this reminds me of back in 2018 when we used to see these oddball 3-1, 3-2, 3-3s with a quickly follow of a swarm. And when we looked, you could see, when the seismograph, if it's a natural event, you have the resonance that builds up like a little nipple and then the break, okay? If it's an atomic bomb, there's no build. It's just the sudden break. And so what we were seeing was 3-1, 3-2, 3 with these sudden breaks followed by natural aftershocks. And so what I said in my articles, I said, what I believe that they're doing right now is they're artificially capping earthquake activity because they don't want to disclose that they're using tactical nukes to blow up the DUMBs.
Okay, that's...
And the next month, they stopped the capping. And they haven't been capping since them. I called them out. Now, the question is who do you think was doing the capping? The white hats or the black hats? Okay,
but let me interject here that actually they also changed the entire scale. You do know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that was done right before 2018.
Obama did that. Obama, if it's a 6.1, it's a 5.8. If it's a 5.0, it's a they downgraded the entire scale so that when we have a 6.0, it's probably like a 7 or an 8 at this point. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. So that's on top of what you're saying, which is kind of interesting. And we have tracked DUMBs and they're trying to hide that as well. I also heard that they do it at 10. I think it's a 10 mile. They're always at a 10 mile. It's something around 10, some kind of thing about the scale that whenever you see a tenor, that's actually, and that's not magnitude, that has to do with the mileage down deep, how deep it is. That's an explosion in a DUMB, apparently. That people are saying that. I don't know the science. I can't say if that's true or not.
I'm going to tell you right now, because I know I nailed them. I caught them and they had to back off. And I'm going to take my victory lap right now. Woohoo! Okay.
All right.
Now, question is, who did it? Who did the capping? Black hats or the white hats?
Well, the white hats explosions in the DUMBs.
It was the white hats.
White hats. Yeah.
It was the white hats because the data capping When we went back, we have a huge database. We've been tracking all earthquake data for years. Okay. I went back, did a deep dive, and guess what? The capping started in the last 3 months of Trump's administration. It started with the white hats.
Yeah.
Which tells me the white hats are nuking the dumbs.
Sure.
And once I called them out, that was it. They knew the jig was up, and oh my gosh, now we're having normal reporting. And we want to see where that goes. But the only thing we have that's really reliable right now is our fireball data, because that's from the American Meteorological Society. It's a private group, and their work is stellar, just stellar.
All right.
And
but you're not looking at volcanism. Is that right?
We look at volcanism, but only, in terms of what is happening with general seismicity.
Yeah.
I know, when I first started doing this in 2002, at that point, we would have 40 active volcanoes a year. Now you have 40 at any one time.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? There's no difference, right? I mean, you have to be naive to think that way. There is so much data capping, so much manipulation, that we have to we're like little mice, and we're looking for the crumbs that fall off the table. And we grab the crumbs and run off and eat them.
Okay, let me ask you if you know Standeo.
I've heard of the name, haven't gotten a chance to know him personally.
Oh, okay. Well, he's in Australia. He worked, for, I don't know who you want to say he worked for. I forget who he says he worked for, but I think he might have consulted with NASA for a period. He's a scientist, and he's extremely well respected and knows his stuff inside and out, having to do with earthquakes, volcanism, and the whole thing. And he has a website. It's called standeo.com, I think it is. So you can check him out over there. He's a fascinating guy, very fascinating. He is a person who knows the deep state, and knows the secret space stuff, but he doesn't reveal it, just a very thin surface layer. But he's someone who was in the know and in with the team a long time ago. So the reason I'm asking about him is because, he is tracking all the weather and everything, like I say, the volcanoes, the earthquakes, you name it. So you are looking at that as well, and you've looked at it, and you've seen it escalate all this time, and you're attributing it, I'm assuming, to nemesis, as you call it.
Yes, what's really happening is we're not right now, our seismicity and volcanism is not a direct consequence of nemesis.
Okay.
It is indirect. What is happening is that if you look at the luminance of our sun, it is steadily on the increase. All right. And that increasing luminance, that increasing brightness, is a result of its electromagnetic interaction with nemesis. I do believe in the electric universe theory, which was originally, I trace that back to the University of Moscow. And that's where the concept of the electric universe was actually born. And I hold with it, and I do believe we're in an electric universe. And so nemesis and the sun, it's getting a little tense. And this increasing luminance is what is causing us that's the reason why we have all the chemtrails. They're trying to reflect all of this light back out, because it's going into the earth. It's what's causing the seismicity. And it's interesting. I want to follow up with you at another time on the core stopping, because that will be when the pole shift occurred. That's what I was saying in my book. And then it will. We literally will stop spinning and then start again, and go through a lithosphere shift. So it's going to be a pretty brutal thing. And
but you would not agree with Richard Allen Miller, for example, on the date, the April, end of March, beginning of April. It's kind of like 8 days in April, I think.
I wouldn't
could
do
happen.
that.
You wouldn't agree with that.
No, I would agree with that. I would love to go see the work, see what he's doing.
All right.
It is, imagine you got a bunch of guys that are blind with blindfolds and they've never seen an elephant before. And we're all groping the elephant, and I said, I got a tusk, I got the butt, where are you at? What are you finding? And so if he's doing this, I'm watching a lot of stuff. Now, the reason why we followed the seismicity for years was, and I did get a solution on it. What I was particularly concerned about is with Nemesis coming in, that, the big one in California, and California goes in the ocean. And would there be some way to know that event is actually close to happening? Well, what we did over the years is we found something we call the Nazca Nexus. Nazca is a very small plate. And what's happening is there are rivers of magma flowing under the lithosphere, and they're coming up along the plates, and they're following the plates. The Nazca Nexus is like a relief valve, like a pressure cooker. The steam builds up and it'll release and you'll see the steam come out. When the Nazca Nexus gets blocked up, it diverts the magma, which then goes around the top of South America and it goes into the Caribbean plate. And so what we found was that in terms of California, look to see what's happening in Haiti. If Haiti catches hell, and it's going to get like a big quake, an 8 something, 7 something, but it's going to get multiples of that. Just not one, but you could have one, and then within a period of maybe a couple of weeks or a month or period, you would have some more, and they're definitely not aftershocks. That's when you need to be, for the people on the West Coast, need to be careful, because that is really going to be the sign that events are building up. The pressure is building up along the San Andrea. And
okay.
So follow Haiti, be aware of what's happening in the Caribbean, and poor Haiti, they sit right on the fault line. All right. They're sitting right on the plate. Okay.
Now I have another fault for you though. Yeah. Which I have other people and whistleblowers talking about, which is the Juan de Fuca.
Oh, that's a nasty one.
So so again, this would actually dovetail with Richard Allen Miller's investigations. So he's saying that like the Pacific Northwest is going to start to get crazy, and that there's a link up, of course, between the volcanoes of Yellowstone, which is the master volcano, so to speak, and then it's linked up and it stimulates, even Mammoth, what do they call it in the Pacific Northwest? Those volcanoes up there, right?
Right. And Mount St. Helens is part of a whole chain of volcanoes up there, and when that area goes, it's going to be nasty.
Right. So so just we've been going for a while, so I have to sort of cut this off. But it's fascinating to talk to you, and I'd love to have you back so we can go into more stuff. But what I want to do is just condense it right now a little bit and say. You think when you hear these other things, you're not necessarily disagreeing with other timelines, but you think your timeline. Is that correct?
My first rule of investigation is to the heart of a great mystery, many roads lead. Okay. And I love to walk as many roads as I can. And so when other people are doing things, Carrie, I'm going to tell you, years back when you were really coming on, your early work was hugely influential for our team and what you were doing in the interviews you were getting. But I got to tell you, there were times I was going, Carrie, you push this any harder. You're pushing the edge of the envelope. You push any harder, you could eat a bullet. And I'm serious. I could see you putting your life on the line.
Well, we did get life-threatening things that came along, but
yeah,
for whatever reason, I have guardians, angels, or whatever I have, looking out for me. That's for sure. And I did, I mean, I don't know if you even followed Pete Peterson, but he told me to my face that, you know, they did an attempt on my life, and I guess it was stopped. I don't know, but it was major. So that was
you got friends, Carrie. You got
I
friends.
guess.
And
Yes.
you got enemies, and you don't know who they are, but you got friends and you got enemies. And
Right.
but so do I.
Yeah,
We deal with it, and you know, it's the life we chose.
it is. Okay. I have two final questions. I'm going to go back to the one I just asked you because you didn't quite answer it. So again,
Sorry?
I went, what is your exact timeline? Can you just detail it in a very short span? Because you sort of said vaguely 26, 28 or something. I didn't quite catch it.
Here's what we're going to see between now and 2030. At present, Nemesis is in its high acceleration phase of its orbit. Its speed varies because of the type of orbit it is in. And when it's reaching perihelion, it's pedal to the metal time. And that's what's really happening. We're seeing that it's pedal to the metal. When it reaches perihelion, this will be in sometime in 24. And again, I mean, how many times have we seen, you know, documented a brown dwarf flying through our system? So these are guesstimates, but our guesstimates are running pretty much on track. In 24, it's going to become a fixture in the sky. It's no longer, right now you have people that'll see it at sunrise or sunset, because an object that is close to the sun, this is when the only times you can observe it is, you know, just when the sunlight is so low that the glare doesn't interfere and you can see the object, and it's only for a short period of time. And so that's how I've been tracking it all the years. I saw it coming through in 2012, and I saw it again in 2018 or 2019, naked eye above the sun. So I'm getting a lot more reports coming in from people. And it's right now the last one, and it's the first time I saw it. There's observations in the morning are going to have a different position relative to the sun than observations in the evening. I go with the ones in the evening for tracking. And right now, Nemesis is at the sun's 1 o'clock. This is really significant. It's never been this far along in its orbit before. It's been steadily getting there, and it accelerated to this spot pretty quickly. So in 24, what will happen is it's going to be far enough away from the sun that it's going to become a common fixture in the sky, and it's going to look beautiful, but beauty will bring the beast. And what will happen is it's going to be way above our heads, and it's going to be arcing down and coming. Because it's going to pass between the orbits of Mars, all right, and Jupiter. And so when it's coming down, this is this phase from 24 on where it gets progressively worse. So my thinking is probably by about 2025, 2026, we're going to start having issues with, at this point, we will be into the Nemesis cloud, probably around 27, 28. We're going to think of the plagues of Exodus, and the Nile River turned blood red. Well, that's from iron. All right. And this is a brown dwarf. It's just, you know, a big iron ball of dust. That's the reason why it's red. So it'll get in, water is all going to get mucked up. It's going to look awful. Actually, the 10 plagues of Exodus, if you put them in scientific order, they click. So that's what we're going to start seeing, is it's going to start moving in where we're going to start having the 10 plagues of Exodus. You want to prepare, go read Exodus. All right.
Okay. So you're saying the dust cloud will start to engulf Earth in general, or just part of Earth? We're going to fly into the dust cloud. People who have heightened sense of smell
like blind people, are going to be the first ones to know. So if you have somebody in your group that's blind, they say, I smell iron. That's it. You know, we're in the cloud. All right. But also there's a lot of rocks, a lot of debris. So we're going to have meteorite showers, and we're going to have a lot of rocks falling. Now, as it's coming down, the other thing we have to be concerned with is this is where there's electrical interaction between the two becomes much more intense. And then once it reaches the ecliptic, that's the plane of the solar system. And an easy way to think of that is find a dot in the center of the sun and make a concentric circle all the way out to the 12 signs of the zodiac. All right. That's the ecliptic. Once it is on the ecliptic, Katie, bar the door. That's when it really is going to go apey. And because from that point, it's going, and that's probably going to be around 2028 when it reaches perihelion.
Okay.
It reaches the ecliptic. And then there's going to be this, you have this sun and these three massive rocky planets, and they're going to get what I call a lithosphere lock on Earth. And that's what actually pulls the lithosphere around so that we have the crustal shift. So between now and 2030, it is going to, from around 2025 to 2026, it's going to get progressively worse. If you haven't gone to ground and made provisions to survive this event, anyone on the surface is not going to survive this, period. No one will survive 2030 on the surface. You have to go to ground. You're going to have to get underground to survive it. And we're going to go through a terrible time. In my book, Surviving the Planet X Tribulation, I present a lot of graphics, actually show the pole shift. And we are going to have something where we literally stop turning. All right. And then we're going to go the other way. This is going to be a terrifying time for people. If they're not emotionally, spiritually centered, people are just going to die from heart attacks because every point of reference in their life is just going to be shattered for a while. But then it's going to continue going on, and things will then start to settle down. There will be I would say for a period of about a decade, you're still going to have aftershocks, tremors. The earth is settling and shifting. I see a period also, in the Bible, we talk about 40 days and 40 nights, Noah's flood. Well, I think Noah's flood was a pole shift, but the 40 days and the 40 nights of rain, in fact, happened, but after the actual pole shift event, because what this is about is it's a global monsoon to wash the earth clean, and that's how the earth will clean itself. So we're going to have land masses rise up from the seabeds, and the salts are going to be washed out by the rains, which is going to leave immensely fertile soil. That's going to be wonderful. On the other hand, you're going to have parts that are going to sink. There's different ways of dealing with it, but after all is said and done, the people who are going to survive this are going to be pretty tough, spiritual, honest people.
He's standing out here in the middle of this park filming the wildfire smoke, and again, when he panned up to the sky, it looked like two suns there temporarily. Here I took the same image and I modified it just a little bit just to see what it looked like, and it sure enough looks like two suns there. Normally I would say, oh, that's just some sort of a reflection, but I can't say that because this is just a direct look at the sky. I mean, it is what it is. He's outside in the middle of a park, not around any windows or windshields or glass of any kind. He just pointed his camera up to the sky, and this is what it filmed. And the sky was full of wildfire smoke, and still is today, according to the map over at zoom.earth. Now we're going to go from South Dakota down to Kentucky. This starts off with a video that also has some narration.
Kind of hiding, like it's non-distinct.
And what she's talking about in this video is what appears to be a second sun over here. And this video was submitted by Anthony, also from May 17th, like the video from South Dakota. Both of these are from yesterday, May 17th. And you can clearly see what looked like two suns. This looks very similar to the video from South Dakota. The sun's just in a slightly different position. And notice the two reflections up here at the top of the photo. See the two reflections? There's not one, there's two. Generally, in videos that involve the sun, there's one primary reflection that you always see. It's in every single photo or video of the sun. Not typically two like that. Here's another angle of the sun as it's going down below the tree line here. And notice right here, the sun's up a little higher. Notice the photos, how they are different. They were taken at different times. This photo here shows the secondary object below the sun at around the 6 or 7 o'clock position. And in the next photo, you're going to see right there that the sun's a little closer to the trees over here, meaning that the sun went a little lower. And this object appeared to remain in the same place. Notice here how it's right there. And then the sun dipped down, or at least the bright sun, what appears to be the brighter sun, dipped down, and that thing stayed in the same location. So it's kind of weird. I will say that. There doesn't appear to be any type of window or glass between the camera and the sky. Looks like they took this outside from a patio. I don't know, guys. Here's a couple of modified versions of these still images, and they're just weird, that's all. You don't normally see photos that involve two suns like this, especially when the sun is behind wildfire smoke, from two different people that don't know each other. One gentleman from South Dakota, and then these images by Anthony out of Kentucky, and they were both from May 17th of 2023, and they were just filming the wildfire smoke. And what appeared to be in the sky were two suns, and this is the modified versions of the secondary still image as the sun was a little bit lower. See how it's lower here? Compared to the other image right there, the sun's a little higher, and these images here, the sun was a little bit lower, but the secondary object appeared to be in the same location. So highly bizarre photos coming out of Kentucky and South Dakota, and we're not done yet. Here's another one out of Colwood, Kentucky, involving the sky and something in the sky. Photo by Casey Reeves, sent in by Spencer from May 17th of 2023. Check this out. There's some sort of a anomaly over here in the sky near the sun. Look at that thing. How about that? You don't see something like that every day. And we're going to go in and take a closer look at this sky, this anomaly that's in front of the sun, and the sun is back behind this thing. Look at that. That is super bizarre as well. Looks like a giant beehive in the sky. And again, the sun is behind this thing, and it's the only thing like it in the sky. And you can see it's moving with the sun. Notice it's in a different location than the first photo. Look at the first one is away from this tree line here, and you're going to notice in the second photo, this anomaly, whatever it may be, seems like it's following the path of the sun. Watch how close it is to the tree line in this next image as we come to it right here. See, it's almost touching the trees, not literally, but it's behind the tree line in this photo, indicating that it's moving through the sky with the sun. And again, the sun is back there, and we just saw photos of dual suns in the sky from Kentucky and South